Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Walking Dead. Quite a few things we got to break down about this episode. First of all, let's focus on like the Tara and Dwight situation. That kind of caught me off a little guard because I was like, oh, I guess Tara's kind of over. I mean, there's a little animosity there, but I was like, last time she had a chance to kill him, she didn't. So I was like, okay, it's good. Until literally at the beginning of the episode, it's like, oh, here's a walker. Oops, watch out. And she throws it at him. It's like, what the? She's like, what? No, it was an accident. He can handle it. See, I'm like, wow, you're not even trying to hide it, like your contempt for him. And at points, it's just like, okay, we no longer need him, so let's just kill him now. But no one, it's so interesting because like, obviously going back, like obviously you can understand where Tara's coming from. It's like you killed a person that she loved. It's like, fuck you, like we can all understand that. But at the same time, it's like all that Dwight's done. Even he's like, yo, I killed some of my people in front of you and in front of my own people. There's no going back to me. There's no like, oh, I'm trying to play you guys so I can get back and go with the Savior. It's like, no, after what I've done, there's no going back. Literally that mark on his face from being burned from behind the iron, that was his second chance. Like after that, Negan's not going to give you any more chances. So it's like, I'm with you guys all the way. This is the side that I've chosen. But obviously, Tara didn't appreciate that. And the moment she got a chance, she pulled the gun on him, was going to kill him. I was not like, I thought like when she had the gun pointed at her, she changed her mind, just lowered the gun. No, she legitimately pulled the trigger. I was like, what? You legitimately are trying to kill him this time. I thought that was crazy. But it's so interesting when it's all said and done. Like, it's like, because I was always wondering where Daryl stood in the whole situation, because obviously he severely hates Dwight because everything that kind of fell apart because of Dwight and everything. It's like, because like, Daryl had asked Dwight to kind of like walk away before, but he couldn't and he didn't. So kind of led him to being down the path that they are at. But like, he kept it calm, cool, and collected. I mean, there was a point where it's like, okay, we're going through the swamp. It's like, no, you stay here. Because he's like, oh, you can give me your crossbow. It's like, no, the last time you had my damn crossbow, you ended up killing Denise and everything. So bump that, So even then showing that even though he's kind of okay with everything, even though he's trying to keep Tara from killing Dwight, that even he has his kind of like, oh, when it comes to Dwight, because even he can't change how he personally feels about it. Because to the point is like later on, it's the vice versa. You have like, Daryl being super pissed. It's like, what if he goes and tells the Saviors everything, even though he was talking about not doing that? But then Tara had to be the one defending him. It was an interesting flip. Because, the entire time Dwight's always been like, when it's all said and done, put a bullet in me. Like, I know I deserve it. Because, like, there's no taking back what I've done. He even tries to apologize for Denise. He's just like, I'm sorry. I know it won't make it up. I know I can't change the past or change all the things that I've done. Like, if you decide to put me down, then that's the right thing to do. Like, I always knew how this was going to end. But it's like, I hate Negan because Negan took everything from... Because the only reason why he went back to Negan is because he felt like he had no other choice. He felt like it would have been the best opportunity for him and his... wife, especially considering the fact that she just lost her sister too. It's just like they didn't believe enough in themselves or believe in enough other people, like Daryl, for example, didn't believe enough in him that they would survive with him. So they decided like their best chance will be with Negan, because they didn't think they'd have what it takes to kind of survive on their own. So, but he does lead the other saviors away from Tara when the time came. It's so interesting because it's like, it seems like the one that saw him, the other commander, Laura, she never made it back. So either she's still out there trying to find her way back. Maybe she's wounded. Maybe she got bit and turned, eaten, whatever the case may be, because the other saviors don't know about it. So... I'm interested to see that. I get the feeling like she's probably going to pop up out of nowhere and be like, oh, Dwight's a bad guy. So, I mean, this still gives Dwight the opportunity to kind of work from the inside because no one else. I mean, to be fair, there's the whole Eugene situation. And Eugene didn't turn him in before, but now where Eugene is now, maybe he'd be more willing to, considering the circumstance, because it seems like Eugene, it's like, it always seems like he flip-flops, but now it's kind of more like, because even Negan had to call him out, like, no, are you asking me how the people at Alexandria are going, do you care? Do you care, Eugene? It's like, okay, I know. And then he's like, no, thanks for kind of putting it in perspective for me. So, I don't know. I kind of get the feeling like he'd probably rat Dwight out this time if he found out Dwight was bad, but ultimately we'll have to wait and see. And a big part of this was also following Gabe and Carson, which is kind of an interesting story just because, like, you have Gabe losing his vision, and he's kind of like basically like, okay, God's going to lead the way. I even love him cracking a joke about like, it's like, well, and then Carson's like, well, God should drive. He's like, yeah, or at the very least we should let him in so he doesn't walk leaving behind all those trails. And he's just laughing to himself. That was so neat. But it was kind of interesting, like how for a little bit everything did. It kind of seemed like, oh man, we're out of luck. You know, it's like Gabe's like, oh, just believe, just believe. You know, it's like he's like, I'm not stupid enough to think like God is legitimately going to be here to help us, but at least he is showing, kind of pointing us in the right direction. Essentially, was what he was kind of saying. And so for a while it's like, oh man, Gabe, because you can even tell by Carson's like, oh god, Gabe, it's up, just shut up, you're up here talking about things are going to work out, just believe. And it's like, oh wait, this person that died in this place, oh, they actually have a bunch of antibiotics that can help you out. Oh wow, that piggy bank broke open and there's like a map and some keys. And then there's that whole situation where Carson was in a bear trap, and it's like you have Gabe picking up the gun and pointing it and actually shutting his eyes for a little bit and opening them and bam, killing the walker that's on top of him. And it's like, whoa, you start believing like, holy crap, maybe there's a little bit to this. Like, holy crap, it's like stuff has come. It's like, oh, you just believe. And ultimately, I guess you can make the argument that believing ultimately led them down the wrong path, because I think it is a situation where I guess the argument could be made. It's like it was, I guess the argument is meant to make like it's supposed to have been dumb luck. It's like you got lucky is all that it is. Like it wasn't God trying to point. It's just happy coincidence in life, because like that same thing kind of set Carson up, because it's like, okay, just, you know, let God show you the way. And Carson was kind of believing, and he grabbed the gun and ended up getting shot, which sucks because it's like, wow, all that, I mean, first they got caught, but then also like Carson dies. It's like, wow, all that Gabe did is because he thought this was his purpose to get the doctor back to Maggie. I guess in a way it kind of worked out anyway, because obviously the group from Alexandria made it to Hilltop. Sadly, the news broke about Carl, and you see like Enid break down, dude. It just sucks all around. And you have Sadiq walking up to Maggie being like, oh yeah, I can help out, I have medical training. So I guess in some cosmic way it did work out, as one doctor fell and lost his potential, you know, died, so no helping Maggie or anyone else. It's like, oh, here's Sadiq. To be fair, that kind of works out in a twisted way too, because it means that Negan no longer has a doctor, but that means Hilltop now has one, so it kind of puts them in a slight advantage, I guess, is one way of looking at it. I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like it literally went from Carson dying and Gabe being driven away to Alexandria coming to Hilltop. So it's like that cut back, like that cut to that is kind of an interesting timing thing. So I guess that was what that's supposed to represent. So maybe in some way Gabriel did help, or maybe it's, like I said, meant to be like, oh, because Gabe put so much faith in just kind of letting things guide his hands, instead of like kind of like believing too much in kind of a higher power in this circumstances, rather than believing in a higher power but also believing in himself, because it's like God's not just going to act on his own. You kind of have to put a little effort to. But maybe Gabe was already like calculating that into, I don't know. It just sucks, because even he was kind of like, oh, I thought I had a greater purpose here, but it's like Eugene's making bullets for Negan, and he was just kind of like, oh yeah, here, make, like, you know, your eyes might suck, but hey, do the whole thing with the bullets. Like, I'm not making them, but I guess like casing them is what he was supposed to be doing. I don't know. And it's like, oh man, that sucks. I mean, maybe there's still a role here. Maybe things were meant to play, you know, it's kind of that destiny and fate thing. Maybe things were meant to play out like that so he can end up here, you know, to do something. I don't know. Which I did like that whole conversation where Negan was like, okay, so no bullets are ready in time, because got to replenish all the supplies they've wasted, taking care of wiping out all the dead that they've had to deal with. And I love him, like, Eugene be like, well, the fact of the matter is we could cut up their limbs and kind of throw these walkers in catapults or with their guts and stuff like that. And you just have Negan looking at him, and I just legitimately couldn't help but laugh out loud with just how Negan was looking at him like, are you stupid? What the fuck is going through your head? Like, I was expecting him to say something, but then it was just kind of like, wow. He's like, you know what? An idea, a rose might have just sprouted from that pile of shit you just said. And so it seems like Negan's idea is to basically like, well, basically people get infected from like scratch or bite marks from these walkers. It's like, well, basically he takes Lucille and he like scrapes some of its flesh and blood onto Lucille, basically. So when he hits anyone, doesn't have the bash your brains anymore. Just one good hit, you're done for because you're infected. The moment it scratches you and it's got like the dead's blood on you, get infected and die and join the dead. So I'm assuming all their like melee weapons are going to be like that from now on. Not unless they plan on doing that with bullets too, like dipping their bullets in Walker blood or something like that. Which I don't know if that's never. I mean, I don't know if that's ever been a thing in the comic books or not. I don't think in Telltale like that's ever been a thing. Like obviously it's something the show's brought up, like obviously using it as a disguise, but I don't think anyone's ever used it as a weapon, a Walker as a weapon like that before. I mean, the closest thing would be Michonne when she first popped up because she was using two walkers as kind of like, I guess they were meant to be as deterrents. I don't think she used them actually. I mean, I guess they were kind of guard dogs, but at the same time they were meant to be like bug zappers essentially, to kind of like lead like other zombies walkers away, you know. So, like I said, I assume it's just going to be melee weapons like knives and swords and stuff like that. Anything you can just stab or just like slash someone with so that they can get infected. So that's definitely going to be interesting. And I'm loving that he's just loving it. It's like, look at it. Lucille's getting into it too. And since I brought them up earlier, there is the whole Hilltop situation. Basically, they are running out of supplies. Then you had Gregory bringing up a conversation with, oh, I've been good, so you can let me out of here. It's like, yeah, if I let you out there, you're going to die. You do realize that, because it's like I will kill you. That's the only way you're getting out of that pen. And then the others start asking. One other dude's like, oh, what do we get out for a little bit? But it's just like, it's like, oh, you killed one of us. Like Maggie just wasn't in the mood to deal with them. It's like she already has to look out for her people first, so you guys kind of come second. Plus, you're kind of on her fuck you list just because everything that went down during the before the mid-season finale. So it's just kind of like, they're just low level on her priorities. But I guess once Alexandria came and she saw everything, kind of revigorated her, because she had kind of given up just because it was just kind of low blow after low blow. But after seeing everyone come together like that, she decided, okay, fine. Like, I think it kind of revigorated like that side of Jesus that kind of would talk and be like, oh, we need to help. We need to do something about this situation. And it's something, Carl wanted, like there to be more beyond this. And it's like, Hilltop is kind of doing that by working with these saviors. They're kind of doing what Carl wanted, So I don't know if that was the intention or not, or maybe that's what that's kind of supposed to represent. But it's like, hey, you can get out of the pens for a little bit at a time, and you get your rations are dropped down to a quarter, so everyone is even, not just the saviors, but also like everyone in the Hilltop too. So especially with Alexandria coming in, that means food's going to be spread even more thinner, so. But what I also thought was kind of interesting too is the whole Morgan, Carol, and Henry's situation, because Morgan's just chilling out front and Henry's there with them, and Morgan's not moving, and so Henry isn't either. Like Carol's telling him like, go get something to eat, but he's like, nah, Morgan, let's exchange places, and he's like, nah. So it seems like he's mimicking Morgan more and more. And until Morgan says something, like Henry doesn't move, because he wants to know which one of them killed his brother, but neither one wants to say. But then Morgan's like, hey, maybe we should tell him, because we tell him, obviously he's going to learn how to survive and stuff like that. And maybe it'll be good because he doesn't care and it doesn't bother him. And then Carol's like, well, it does. He's a kid, so he doesn't really know how to process his emotions, but it definitely bothers him. It's just kind of like, because it would bother any normal person. Like it's kind of, but especially at that young age, you really don't really 100% understand anything. It's kind of like those two girls that Carol and Tyrese were taking care of back in, what was that, season 4. The two girls that were, one that really didn't understand everything, so she had a warped understanding of how all that stuff worked. Like it seemed like it was kind of like, because I think Carol doesn't want a kind of a repeat of that situation, because the other one ended up killing her sister, because she's like, no, it's better this way, that she comes back like this, like that's the better way or something. I forgot, it's been a while, but like she had like a twisted like mindset just because she was a little girl, and because people were trying to protect, in particular Tyrese wanted to try and protect their innocence. He never really explained it and to really break everything down to him, because they were such little girls, they wanted to protect their innocence. So I guess that kind of plays as kind of a similar thing of not, maybe it's kind of the opposite of like definitely not wanting him to go down that route, because like once you go down that route, it kind of will leave you broken, and she doesn't want that for Henry. And she definitely doesn't want it from Morgan because she's like, I can tell the same thing is wrong with you. But hearing about Carl, like what he did, like he died helping a stranger, it made him, I guess it kind of made Morgan kind of reevaluate things because he tells him, like, okay, you're looking for the person who killed your brother, right? It was Gavin. So you already dealt with it. So it's not gonna make it's not gonna make things better, but hey, you don't have to focus on hating anyone else. Even though we know that the person, one of the people, literally the dude that was talking to him in this episode was the dude that killed his brother. But I think Morgan kind of wanted to so Henry wouldn't be so fixated. Because I think it also hit Morgan too, because it's like, well, I'm sure when he looks at Henry, he kind of sees his son, so that's why he's kind of like, I want, kind of let it not bother him, because it's like, because what led to his son dying, his son saw his, mom as a walker out there, and it tugged at his heart. So it's like, if you can kind of, I guess, numb yourself to a certain extent, maybe Morgan's hoping that would kind of make him a better chance of surviving in this world. But like I said, maybe hearing about Carl too, especially because, him and Rick go back like to the very beginning, because Rick's the first, like, Morgan was the first person Rick ever knew, and there was that hope, and it's like, Morgan lost his boy, and now, the same things happened to, Rick too. So I don't know. It was just kind of an interesting development. So I'm curious to see where things kind of progress going forward with Morgan. But I'm also curious to see where everything takes us from here, especially with the Dwight situation. Like I said, there's a Eugene thing, but it seems like we probably are lock and loading, because it seems like Rick and Michonne show up at the very end of the episode. Because it's also interesting too, because you have Gregory being like, we should run away, which Maggie's like, no, why would we run? He's like, look at all around us, like, how could we win? And then she goes, look around us, how could we lose? So like I said, Maggie's standing back taller just as before. So like I said, I'm very interested to see where like the next episode takes us with all of this. I'm curious what's going to happen the next time they do cross paths with Dwight. Like it's Daryl wasn't all that happy about it, but what about Tara in particular? What about Aaron and Oceanside? Will he be able to convince them or whatever? Because we see that Enid's already back at Hilltop, so I don't know. All that stuff we'll kind of have to wait and see, but I think we're probably going all out next episode. I'm sure, like I said, they've got weapons to kind of buy time until like Eugene helps them kind of build their ammo supply back up. So we'll see how it all turns out in the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good